Hello all. Sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties. Looks like I still may be because you all are frozen on my screen. Can anyone hear it?
I can hear you.
Your audio seems pretty good, Rodney.
Okay, I just got booted off again. I'm back. This might be a tough meeting if I end up disappearing. Maybe someone else could pick it up for me. Yeah. So how was? Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out a little bit now, I think.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we
You
can
wanna
hear
just-
you. It's a little bit, sometimes it gets a little robotic sounding and cuts out, but I've heard a lot of what you've been saying.
Okay, that's not
I
good.
don't know if it's gonna last the whole meeting, so we might want a backup facilitator.
Hi, everybody. Sorry. So I think my internet's kind of not great either today. I just got a message from Rodney that his internet is not working, and neither is the internet of people at the Pardal Center. So I will get the meeting started. And we'll go from there. Hopefully Rodney can get back on soon. Let me just reply to him. All right, so let's just give it a few more minutes for people to roll in. But yeah, we will. And thank you, Ash, for putting the agenda in the chat. I'll read the land acknowledgement and then we'll get to introductions. But there's people rolling in at a steady pace, so might as well give them a second. I think 11:45 is a little early to get on. Okay, let's get started. I will read the land acknowledgement on our agenda, and we will then get to introductions and announcements. So, land acknowledgement. Sorry, this is a small text. I'm gonna make it a little bigger for myself to see. Okay. We would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Chumash people, and we pay our respects to elders both past and present. We honor the traditional territory as well as the story and contributions of the Chumash people to the land upon which we gather and create. So, introductions. Let's just do it off the side of my participants tab to be quick about it. So we'll go starting off with the 415 number, who I believe is Sydney. Okay, maybe she can't unmute right now. Ash, do you want to go?
Okay. Hello, I'm Ash. I'm in EcoVista and I'm one of the RPD directors, just representing myself today though. I don't know if I have any quick announcements, but I'm excited to talk about the housing crisis and what's coming up with UCSB in person or online and things like that. Check.
Thank you, Ash. Anna Maya?
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I came in
you
late, so I
know.
wasn't sure what we were doing.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, you must have just joined. We just had a lot more just join right now too. People
Okay.
just keep rolling in. I'm sorry. We're on announcements.
Okay, thank you. Well, hi, my name is Ana Maya and I work for Isla Vista Youth Projects, the Family Resource Center. And quick announcements, we have our food distributions next week on September 16th, and it's a drive-through now, and we changed locations, so we're actually closer to IV now. It's at 6842 Phelps Road at the Children's Center, one of our Children's Center facilities, and it's a drive-through, and it's from 11:30 to 5:30, and we do need volunteers to help us with, putting bags together, giving out the food. We have 150 individuals that come through the drive-through, and it's once a month, and the next one is September 16th, next Thursday. So if you know anybody that wants to help us, please send them my way.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Next up is Lieutenant Bradley Prowse.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, or afternoon now. I'm Brad Prowse. I'm a sergeant at the university, and I'm an acting lieutenant with our services division. I'm the division commander for our CSOs, for our community outreach team, and for our detectives. So I'm honored to be here. So I'm looking forward to the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine?
Hello, I'm Catherine Flaherty. I'm Vice President of the Isla Vista Community Services District. I'm a UCSB senior, rising senior, and I'll probably wait until our time slot for any announcements. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Catherine. Demi Kane?
Hi, everyone. I'm Demi. I am the project coordinator for Ivy Coalition for Healthy Communities, 805. And the only announcement that I have today is that the St. George Youth Center has hired a new director. His name is Raul, and he is on the call. So he will go ahead and introduce himself when he gets called. But that's pretty much it for announcements on our end.
Yeah. Thank you, Demi. Gary?
Hello, everyone. Gary Gaston, UCSB Police Department, Community Outreach Team, he, him, his on the pronouns. Quick announcement, currently working on some curriculum for a Citizens Academy that we're going to do virtually online. So we'll be covering topics like women in policing, use of force laws, community policing, police response to mental health, and other things as well. We'll send out a list at some point and try to see if anyone wants to go. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Gina?
Hi, stuffing my face. I'm Gina Fisher. I work for 3rd District County Supervisor Joan Hartman, and so we'll have our update shortly.
Thank you, Gina. Jay?
My name is Jay Freeman. I'm on the board of the Isla Vista Community Service District and the Local Agency Formation Commission. I'm representing neither of those groups today. However, I'm here in my personal capacity.
Thank you, Jay. Getting us on YouTube. Joan?
I'm Joan Hartman, 3rd District County Supervisor, and my internet's a little unstable today.
Thank you. Yes, it's a struggle for, seems to be universal this week. Joanna?
Hi, Joanna Hill, UCSB Health and Wellness, and no announcements except that we're just working to get ready for the school year. We're doing programming in person and online, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for the update. Katerina?
Hi, my name is Catarina Zamora, and I'm with the Alcohol and Drug Program with Behavioral Wellness at the county. And I don't think I have any announcements right now. Thanks.
Leah or Leah?
Hi, I'm Leah. I'm with the pharmacy. Thank you, Ash, for putting that in the chat. I was wondering the same thing. Anamaya, is there a contact that we should reach out to when we have volunteers?
Yes, I could put my number in the chat. So when you have any volunteers, thank you. That would be great.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
And next is Lisa Osborne.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Osborne with KCSB News 91.9 FM. Quick announcement, our KCSB News team has partnered with the Daily Nexus for this Unmasking Isla Vista Community Reflection. It's been getting some press around town in the Independent, and I just put a link in it's a podcast and print stories, and I just put a link in the chat. Thanks. It's great to see everyone and be here.
Thank you, Lisa. That's a great publication you're doing. Lisa Oglesby.
Hi, everyone. Lisa Oglesby, Isla Vista Food Co-op Board of Directors. I don't have any updates today, but I will say that the podcast and article that other Lisa just mentioned is really excellent, and I encourage everybody to check it out.
Thank you. Luvia.
Hi everyone, my name is Yuvia. I am the student coordinator at the Legal Resource Center and Isla Vista Tenants Union, and I'm just sitting in on the meeting today.
Thank you. Luis.
Hi, Luis, Recreation Coordinator for the Isla Vista Rec and Park District. Just want a couple announcements. This Friday is going to be our final movie screening for our summer movie series. We're going to be screening, it's a free screening of the movie Soul. Be handing out popcorn for the first 75 attendees. And then also we took a week off, but our summer concert series in Anasquero Park Amphitheater restarts this Saturday, and I'll be continuing each Saturday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. until September 25th. So the next 3 Saturdays we'll be hosting free concerts with all local IV bands in the Anasquero Amphitheater. Tonight we do have a board meeting as well at 5:30. If you wish to join us, you can go to ivparks.org for the Zoom link. And then also we will be we have started kind of the preliminary redesign of Pardal Gardens, which is a park located near Pardal Tunnel, next to kind of the Habit and across from the old South Coast Deli. So we got some grant funding, and that's the #1 park on our priority. So you'll start seeing some movement at that park. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for the update, Luis. Omari.
Hello, everyone. Omari Pryor with the Alcohol and Drug Program. Don't have any announcements, but we are looking forward to being in person this year as much as possible. That being said, our peer educators, Life of the Party, are available virtual and in person for any events or support if you'd like. So please reach out.
Okay, thank you, Omari. Next is Philip.
Hi, my name is Philip. I'm a member of the Isla Vista Food Not Bombs, and as well as the UC Student Workers Union. I'm here representing myself. I am not representing Food Not Bombs, and I am not representing the Student Workers Union.
Thank you, Philip. Ralph.
Howdy, everyone. I'm the new director of the St. George Food Center. And the only announcement we have is that we are fully open now, Monday through Fridays, after school from 3 to 6:30, offering homework assistance and recreational. And I look forward to meeting everyone at some point and getting to know everyone as well.
Thank you, Ro. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did I call on Ralph? Yeah. Just having a quick, if I forgot or not. Oh, we did call on Ralph, did we? Someone help me out. Okay, Rodney.
Hello, good to see everybody. Rodney Gould, I'm the Isla Vista Community Advisor, working out of the Pardal Center.
Hand it over back to Rodney in a second to be the facilitator. TJ.
Hi, I am TJ representing Pacific Pride Foundation. One announcement I have is our organization is actually hiring for a health prevention manager and a health prevention coordinator, which is a part-time gig. So I'll put the link in the chat. So if you know anyone, or if you'd be so kind as to distribute out at website, let people know we're hiring, that would be much appreciated. Thanks.
Well, thank you for joining us today, TJ. Tori.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Tori Saunders. I'm a police officer on the community outreach team with the UCSB Police Department. So I work for Lieutenant Prowse and with Gary over here. So a couple announcements we have. We are still in the hiring process, looking to hire a few more entry-level and lateral police officers. We also opened a sergeant's application as well as a lieutenant's application as well. So if you're interested, I will post the link in the chat. If you have any friends or anybody in the community you think would be a great addition to the police department who would work well in our community, please let us know. We're also hiring for dispatchers, and they're doing a written exam on the 25th of this month. So if you're interested in that, or if you know anybody who is, please let us know or have them apply, or they can also directly reach out to Sergeant Bly, and I will put his email in there as well, and he is able to help facilitate any questions anybody may have. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Tori. Temi Lola.
Hi, I'm Temi Lola. I am the student coordinator at Pardall Center, and I'm just sitting in on today's meeting.
Thank you. Viviana.
Hi, Viviana Marzano, Director of Civic and Community Engagement and Isla Vista Liaison in the Division of Student Affairs. Just working hard on the educational campaign for the gubernatorial recall election. So if you haven't, please go and vote. There is a mailbox outside the Ivy Food Patrol to drop in the ballots for those who live in Isla Vista. And I think there will be a polling place at the Isla Vista Community Center.
Yes, there will be on Tuesday. Who has not had a chance to go, maybe join during introductions or might not have seen your name?
Me.
Okay.
Go on ahead, Jeffrey.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Sorry for that. Thanks for hosting, Jonathan. I'm Jeff Hawley. I'm a professor of anthropology at UCSB. And I do research with students on IV. And recently we've been with IVTU and Community Housing Authority, trying to do like a census of IV to get a sense of the capacity of the housing. And I'm currently in the United Kingdom for a year on sabbatical, but I wanted to kind of check in and get a sense for what's going on with the situation. So happy to be here today.
Thank you. Jackie, you're next.
Hi, everybody. Jackie Curta. I'm here representing student health as director of the Alcohol and Drug Counseling and Education Program. And we oversee the Life of the Party student peers and also the Gauchos for Recovery student peers. Just a reminder, we operate the overdose prevention program where we offer free naloxone kits and fentanyl test strips to students, community members, anyone we can reach. And so if people have interest in that, please let me know. We will also offer a number of trainings, free trainings throughout the fall quarter to introduce the program more to everybody. So nice to be here.
Thank you, Jackie. And Kim.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kim Equinella, and I work with the Dean of Students Office at UCSB. Just wanted to say good afternoon.
Thank you, Kim. Welcome. Is there anybody left who didn't get a chance to introduce themselves if you joined midway? All right, just making sure. All right, sounds good. Well, I'll turn it over to Rodney to get with the rest of the agenda.
Hello again. It's nice to see so many people at this meeting. It's been a while since we had this kind of attendance, so really happy about that. I guess we'll just move right into the 3rd District Supervisor's Office. And I had put on the agenda just a couple of, or one question. I was just hoping we'd have a new shelter update. And then I was also curious what the address is of that. But anyway, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Let's see. Gina, you want to go ahead and answer that?
I don't have anything. The last update we got that there were about 30 guests residing there. No issues from law enforcement to report on. And then most of the people came from Goleta and the Isla Vista area, just as we projected. I do not have the address. I can look it up and put it in the chat. I don't know it off the top of my head. So that's yeah.
Do you know what it used to be called? That would be enough, probably.
I don't.
Okay. All right. Thanks. And one other question: how many rooms are there?
There are 50 beds, 25 rooms, I believe. Up to 50 beds. I believe there are 25 individual rooms. So if they doubled up everybody.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
The only other thing, if Joan, I'll kick it to you if you want to just maybe mention, and we probably want to open it up our office, and I think it was on the agenda about any questions, concerns, stories, anything about the housing crunch that students in particular are feeling IV right now. So before I do that, I just want to make two quick announcements. One is that this upcoming Tuesday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, the last item of the day is the Board of Supervisors appointment for the county's appointment to the IVCSD board. So as you may recall, Bob Geis was the county's appointee to that board, and he retired after almost 5 years of service that we greatly appreciate him for. And so the county has the opportunity to fill that appointment. So far they had received 2 applications. Those are posted online on the clerk's website. So the board will make that appointment. Most of you know this, but let me just take this opportunity not to steal the IVCSD's thunder, but just to jog folks' memory about the uniqueness of this board. People forget the IVCSD is a special district. There are thousands of special districts around the country. But the IVCSD is unlike any other. It was created by the legislature. And the reason for that was it's got 5 elected board members, many of whom are on this call. And then but it's a 7-member board. 2 of their board members, one is appointed from the chancellor of UCSB and one is appointed from the county. And the reason for that is that Isla Vista, all decisions about Isla Vista, they're partners, the county and the university. And so they needed to be folded in with voting power with those 5 elected members. So it's really special. It functions brilliantly. And so that's why the county gets to make that appointment. So that's that. The one other thing I have, I'll just say, unrelated to our office, if you have this week's Independent, you'll see the cover story. This is just something I think members of the Ivy community may appreciate. The largest used book sale in the Western United States kicks off next week in Santa Barbara County, and it's at Earl Warren Showgrounds, and it's the Planned Parenthood book sale. And so volunteers take in books, thousands, hundreds of thousands of books. I mean, it's huge. And they take in hundreds of thousands of books and they sort them and organize them. I mean, this is like tons of man hours, and it's really, really neat. And the books are priced to sell. So it's, they don't really take, they usually don't have textbooks, but they have huge sections of children's books, of cookbooks, of every genre. I mean, it's super, super, super cool. I encourage everybody to check it out. I will tell you, I personally, I go there and I raid the cookbook section and I get just wonderful cookbooks. And so it's just a really nice positive thing. And for book lovers among you, it's something, if you're unfamiliar with it, I think you'll really enjoy it. So that's all I have. If Joan, you want to talk anything about.
I have a couple of things. At our last board meeting, we spent a fair bit of time discussing a homeless encampment strategy for unincorporated county. And just to remind you, there is a leaders group on homelessness that includes all the cities and the county dealing with broader issues, but this was focused specifically on encampments. And it really started from the assumption that was proven in the Pallet Village in Isla Vista, and that is that long-term houseless people who we've always thought were very difficult to place in services and in housing, that assumption now has been turned on its head by the experience that we had in Isla Vista, where the vast majority of long-term houseless people were indeed placed into various kinds of housing and services. So the county Board of Supervisors adopted an encampment strategy. They'll be looking over a 3-year period at 45 encampments. So they'll take a third each year and apply some of the lessons that were learned in the Pallet Village, really intense, consistent outreach to a fixed group of people in an encampment, and getting them going through the whole process of document ready and stabilizing and building trust. So I was really pleased that, we tested a hypothesis in Isla Vista and we proved that it was true. And now we're approaching that in other, in the county strategy, and then the cities are starting to look at that too. The Palettes moved to Lompoc, and the city of Santa Barbara is looking to do something very similar. The last two board meetings have focused a great deal on a proposal that county employees either have to be vaccinated or be tested. And the first meeting where this was proposed was many people against vaccinations testified for I think 2.5 hours. And then the next meeting where it came back to be adopted, we went through that again. And it was my first encounter with a room full of people who are very much resistant to vaccinations. And if you want really interesting listening or seeing, I encourage you to watch that. But the board did, with a 4-1 majority, adopted a requirement for either vaccinations or testing for its employees. The last thing I want to mention is that local government, including the county, receives ARPA money from the recovery plan from the federal government, and we'll start hearing. We asked to have special board hearings on issues that the county does not currently have expertise in. Broadband is one. So in September, we will be having a workshop on broadband, and then some of the other issues will come up in October when we actually have to figure out what we want to do with our rescue plan money. So that's, I think those are the key issues. Rodney, do you call on people or should I? If there are questions.
Thanks, Joan. Yeah, I'll go ahead and call. Either way, it doesn't matter.
You go ahead.
But Philip, you had a question or comment?
Yes. So Ms. Hartman mentioned that they were going to use the strategies learned in the Isla Vista homeless encampment to other encampments. Do those strategies include the eviction? Like, will the are evictions planned for other houseless encampments as similarly to how the houseless encampments in Isla Vista was evicted?
Yeah, I would not refer to what happened in Isla Vista as evictions. If you remember from the 4 parks initially, there were fire and public health dangers to the residents themselves. And so we had to transfer them to other areas. And then those who are willing, we had in the pallet villages. And it was always to be a 6-month strategy to get people housed in the pallet houses and then stabilized and then connected to people and ultimately services. And so that was very successful. And that was the assumption, is that we would be transitioning people to other housing. And now that we have the Hedges House of Hope, soon to be named that, I feel we've very much kept faith with keeping people in Isla Vista who were houseless.
Go ahead, Philip.
Okay, so perhaps eviction is not the right word. Regardless of how you call it, the houseless residents were required to leave the encampment. Are there plans to similarly require residents of other houseless encampments to leave?
Thank you for the careful wording of your question. I think in this context, it's really important. What will first happen in the county is an assessment of the different encampments, mapping, and that all the jurisdictions, the cities have that are mapping programs can talk to each other. So we'll map, but we know we have about 45 encampments, and some are just a few people and some are much larger. The plan then is to prioritize which are the most problematic in terms of fire and health and safety for residents and the broader community. So those will be prioritized. And then people will go in and work with people in the encampment. You put your finger on a really important issue that was discussed by the board and staff, and that is it best to work with people where they are if it's not posing a danger, or is it better to try to move people to a place where they have something like the pallets where there's safety and that they have a door they can lock, that they have a space of their own where they don't have to be guarding their things and be worried all the time about their own safety. We don't at this time have the capacity to create pallet villages as alternatives to the 1/3 of the 45 encampments. So we'll probably be working mostly with people in the encampments, trying to make them safer, clean them up. I did, however, ask if we could actually conduct an experiment and transfer some people into something like a pallet village where they have more exclusive space where they feel comfortable, and compare that to keeping people in the encampment itself. So I'm hoping we can actually test and see which works better.
Yeah, go ahead, Philip.
Yeah, thank you for that information. That's really helpful. I think in addition to that, I was wondering, like, specifically about requiring houseless residents to leave encampments. I was wondering if there's any plans or if that's on the table for these encampments, specifically about requiring them to leave.
Right now, there's court decisions as well as CDC guidance that the court decision, you cannot move people unless you can provide them alternative housing. The pallet housing qualifies because it has a door that you can lock. It's hard walls and a door you can lock. And I have to tell you, people really wanted to be in those pallets, so that's a good thing. There's, in addition, CDC guidance that says during COVID, it's not good to move people around. So that's really why we had an increase in houseless people throughout California and the county, because our shelters had to reduce capacity for social distancing, and that put more people on the street and more people into encampments, and then they couldn't move, and more things accumulated, and in that sense it became more dangerous. Oftentimes people need fires to cook their food, they need fires to keep warm, and that is a concern, because with the stuff, an encampment could go up in flames, and it would be a tragedy. So that's kind of the big thing that we're really concerned about.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Joan or the 3rd District?
How about the UCSB situation? It's probably too much to cover the whole topic, but just how are you feeling about in-person instruction and people not being able to find housing and all that?
Well, I'm delighted that life is starting to come back to normal and students are back in the classroom. I'm really excited about that. The county, I've explained this, but let me just summarize again. The university developed a long-range development plan in 2010 about how it was going to accommodate new students and faculty and staff that they were mandated to increase by the legislature and the regents. That development plan led to an agreement, a contract between the county, the city of Goleta, and the university. And that contract specifically had to do with issues of traffic and congestion, and then housing. So the county maintains that the university is not in compliance with that contract. And the university is currently in discussions with the county with a formal mediator to explore and try to resolve these issues. So we hope it doesn't lead to litigation, but it could. And so I can't say a lot about the details of that, but in general, I believe the university has to house its students on campus. And we're getting a lot of calls in our office about people wanting to live in cars and vans on the streets of Isla Vista. I will tell you flat out, I oppose that because I do not think that's safe. I do not think that's conducive to learning. And I think the university has to provide for its students.
Any questions or comments on that, or anything else for Joan or the 3rd District? Okay, it looks like we're good. Thank you, Joan and Gina, appreciate it. And we're going to move on to the associated students in IV. I was having a lot of technical difficulty when they were going around for the introductions. Is anyone here to report on that? Or anyone from any other part of the university who would like to talk about the housing crisis and the student effort to restore online learning in absence of enough housing? Philip.
Before I say anything, are there anybody from the Associated Students who want to say something first? Because I'm not part of Associated Students.
Yeah, I don't see anybody. I will, you go ahead and then I'll try to fill in some pieces of what I know, which isn't a whole lot.
Yeah, so I personally have, okay, thank you. I personally have been leading an effort by UCSB students and graduate students to, I'm going to turn off my video because my internet is unstable. I have been leading an effort by UCSB undergraduates and graduate students to encourage UCSB departments to offer online attendance options. It's a little bit tricky because the university has required that at least 50% of course instruction must be in person, so it's pretty hard to do that. But recently, I was able to get the Honors College for CCS to promise funding to purchase equipment for online options. And I'm working with a bunch of other departments at UCSB. However, I don't expect my efforts to lead to enough of a change that it will significantly alleviate the housing crisis due to multiple factors. One, several departments are unwilling to move online despite potentially having the option. Two, simply we only have 2 weeks left and there simply is not enough time to arrange an online option for enough departments. So I do think the reality is that there will still be a lot of students who cannot attend online, who have to attend in person, and who cannot find housing. So I think the reality is that this fall there are going to be many students who are going to be forced to live in their cars in Isla Vista.
All right, I will add on to that a little bit. the Senate, the Executive Board of Associated Students sent a letter to the Chancellor talking about the problems that the students are having. At the time they sent the letter, there was about 1,000 students who were registered but weren't able to find any places to live. And they acknowledged that the university is trying to find housing for students through hotels and things like that. And I think the plan was that anything over the cost of what they would have paid living at UCSB, that the campus would cover the cost of that. However, I don't know that there's been a lot of success in securing those spaces, although they're still working on it. There's a particular problem with people with disabilities. There's so few places in the area that that are ADA accessible and have that can accommodate mobility issues and things like that. So those people in particular are really having a hard time and really would like to continue on with remote learning until they can get everything sorted out. The Academic Senate sent out a letter basically stating all the reasons, medical reasons and CDC guidelines that make it possible for them to do everything online. And they are as a group, basically they are opposed to going back to online learning. So it's really pretty messy, but as Philip mentioned, there are a lot of students who are just either going to have to withdraw and just won't be able to be educated this year or live in their cars. So it's really a bad situation. And yeah, I guess that's about that. I don't know what the final decisions would be. I read about one university, I don't remember which one it is, where they started a little later until they could get their housing issues sorted out. So that would be one option UCSB could take, but I don't think that they intend on taking that.
I can add in just a small bit just to update on the hotel situation. I can't speak really just in general to much else than what has been published though. So that's why I've kind of been hanging back a little bit, but the university has secured some spaces with hotels and contracts were sent out to about 250 students this week. And you are correct, Rodney, in that the university would only be charging up to what students would have paid in university housing, and the university takes care of the difference in there. And that's about all I know on it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I can't guarantee that I know the answer, but I'm happy to find out information.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, of course.
Philip, you had a question or comment?
Yes. So you mentioned that 200 contracts were sent out. Are you aware of how many students are still on the UCSB housing waitlist?
That's a great question. I don't have that exact number, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Do you have a rough estimate, perhaps?
I don't. I can only refer to, I'm not sure if it was Joan who mentioned that there was about 1,000, or maybe it was Rodney, about 1,000 students that were on the wait list. I do know that those contracts kind of bit into that total amount. And so going off of that information of what someone mentioned around 1,000, we could kind of deduce from there.
Okay, so we could say that there's maybe a rough estimate with a lot of uncertainty, approximately like 700 to 800 students on the housing wait list who have still not been provided housing.
Potentially, although I couldn't speak to that being an accurate number offhand. I'm happy
Okay.
to look into it a little bit further and get you additional info.
Yes, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
I think that's fair to use as a baseline at this point, but like Kim said, I don't know the number exactly either.
Does the university have any plans for I mean, there are definitely students who are left without housing. We don't know the exact number. What plans does the university have to house those students? Are they going to get more contracts with hotels?
I can't speak to that actually at all. I really just have that bit of information on what's happened so far with the hotels.
Okay, thank you. Also, one thing that was missed, I remember UCSB posted a statement or an email perhaps that the price of the hotel would be $744 per month for the students.
If I'm not sure if that was a question, I don't have an exact number on.
Oh
what
no, I
the-
was
the cost-
just
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to throw that out.
Yeah, which I assume if that's what's going to cost them, that's the equivalent of what it would cost them to live on campus. Because
It's actually a lot cheaper. This is the cost that students would pay for off-campus apartments.
oh, okay, that's good to hear.
I do think it's generally the cost of a space in like the San Ynez apartments that are university owned or possibly like a non-meal plan space, although it's just a guess on that.
Yeah, that's correct. As somebody who lived in Santana's apartments, I paid $740 a month.
Gerlene?
Hello, just to introduce myself, my name is Gerlene and I work with the AS Office of the President as well as with Isla Vista Tenants Union. And I've been working closely with the Housing Coalition. So I just wanted to come here and talk about some of the concerns that we've been having from a student's perspective, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
So, yeah, so within the Housing Coalition, I think, we've heard all of the same answers kind of, which is like, we're looking into this and that. And I think that the problem here is that we're not seeing a lot of concrete answers. And students have been generally very understanding of like, obviously this is, it's a crisis. So it's not like we're just going to build up a new building out of nowhere. It takes time. But as we approach, there's like 2 weeks left until the beginning of the school year. And as of the beginning of this month, there was pretty like near 900 students that had no idea what housing they were going to be living in, if they were going to be commuting from Ventura County, or if they were just going to have to drop out of UCSB. And so I think the biggest concern has really been the lack of transparency. And that's what a lot of students have come together and wanted to discuss, is that every time they get an email, it's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of, we'll see what's going to happen. And a lot of this coalition is students who do have housing that are just concerned for the students that don't, because there are a lot of students that we've seen on different platforms like Facebook and Reddit and different social media platforms that are saying they're going to have to drop out of UCSB. And it seems like a lot of the responses, well, you got to do what you got to do. And so if anyone could speak to what's being done besides the hotels, because I know that that's supposed to be temporary. As far as I've seen, I think I saw somewhere that it said that was only for fall quarter. And obviously that's not going to house 900 students. And even if it does, there's still the concerns of shuttle services and dining accommodations and whatnot. I know these are all concerns that you've looked into, but, as we approach the beginning of the school year, we're starting to see a lot more of why this is a problem that should have been addressed months ago, if not years ago. So if anyone wants to just speak to that, and I can talk a little bit more about individual concerns as well.
Does anyone have anything to offer on that? Philip?
Yeah, I guess I can't give any information. I guess raising a hand because no one else is. If you can, I'm currently trying to get as many students as I can to help organize an online option that will address this. If you could put me in contact with those people you've been talking to and I could get more help, I think that would help a lot. But I don't have an answer to your question.
Yeah, if you want to drop your email in the chat, I could write it down. I just wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the things that we found in our surveys. So there was 2 surveys that were sent out that I was directly a part of. And one of them was through the Office of the President, and the other one was through the Housing Coalition. The Housing Coalition got 1,400 responses, and the Office of the President survey got 4,691 responses. And so, they've both gotten a lot of responses. And I know that there's obviously going to be some overlap between the 2. But I think that what we're seeing the most of, and I'm sure you all know this already, is that freshmen and transfers and the majority, if not all of the second years that applied for housing are taken care of. What we're seeing a lot of is concerns for 3rd and 4th years who, did not know whether or not we were going to be online and just opted to take the safe route and just think that we're going to be online and not get housing in time. So obviously, this isn't just a crisis on the university's part. And I think one of the interesting things that we found as well was that a lot of students do want to be in person. I know there are a lot of concerns with COVID-19 measures and how that's going to work if there's an outbreak within classrooms. And I guess that's a conversation to have for another time. But I think that one thing that has not been discussed enough is the idea of this online option. I know that the majority of the students that are saying in these surveys that they want to be in person are 1st and 2nd years who have never been on campus before. And so they haven't had that in-person experience. And the people that are saying they want to be online are people that, tend to have more concerns about COVID-19. But then, comes into question, if there's about 900 students who don't have housing as we come into fall quarter, are we just, what are we expecting them to do? I've seen, I think there was one person in this response that we looked at directly that said that he was going to be living in his car and his parents were really concerned about that. That was the only thing he could do. And we've seen a lot of people that are saying that they're just going to drop out because there's literally no way that they can come to school. And I don't think that it should come to that. There hasn't really been much talk. And I guess that, as for what I've understand from the university, it's kind of been that there's no chance that there's going to be an online option unless you are like a TSP student or if you have some sort of issue that you can work out within the administration. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like that looks like it's a viable option at all at this point. And as we come 2 weeks from the school year and we still have, I think it's safe to assume we still have at least a few hundred students who aren't going to have any housing. I feel like this is a conversation that we're just avoiding at this point.
Hey, Rodney, I got a question.
Yeah.
Anybody from UCSB can answer. So if UCSB doesn't have a hybrid model in place, what are students who have to quarantine or isolate because of COVID exposure or infection? Do they just drop out? How do they get their classes?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I can speak just a tiny bit about it. But it's really working with them and advocating on their behalf with their faculty members, kind of on an individual case-by-case basis. Yeah.
You realize, I know you can't answer that, but you realize the inherent problem with that, right?
Well, I do. I mean, given that we don't know how many students it's going to end up being, that's where it does get a little bit tricky.
I mean, if you have it, especially if they're tripling up at the level that they are, you're going to have, I'm stating the obvious. UCSB is going to end up having a lot of case by case that are going to have to work that out. And did Rodney say the Academic Senate took a position against hybrid?
Yes.
Well, that seems like they just tripled. They're going to make their lives harder. If I may editorialize. Yeah.
It's a tough, of course, you're definitely stating a lot of good points. It's a tough one when they kind of come in conflict like that.
Kim, did you have something else that you had your hand raised for?
I ended up just putting it into the chat. Gurley, thank you for your remarks. I don't have answers as you're posing some of the questions and so forth, but I'm definitely happy to connect with you and connect you in with our Dean of Students office and so forth. I know you've been chatting a lot with folks already, so I don't want to duplicate or offer something duplicate, but just wanted to let you know that the data that you're talking about is really interesting to hear, and I appreciate your work on it.
Thank you. And then I think this is the last thing I'll say because I do see a lot of hands up. But it does seem like that is the reoccurring theme that we're having. And it doesn't just, come down to this housing crisis. This is a problem that we've had with every situation in the past where students have to come together in times of crisis, is that there is no communication. And we do understand that, it isn't a simple fix. It isn't like there's something that the administration is hiding from us, that they're just not wanting to fix the problem. It's complicated, but I think the problem is that until we form our coalitions and we start pushing ourselves in, we're not being listened to. And at the end of the day, it is the students who are being affected. It's the students that are paying so much money to go to this university, that are working hard throughout the circumstances. And that's not to say that professors and administration aren't working hard as well, but it is to say that we're kind of the last people to hear about anything. And when that means that you're having to drop out of school the week before it starts, it feels like there's something that we could do about that. And if that doesn't mean that we could, solve the problem right away, because obviously we haven't done that yet, at least talking about it and figuring it out and maintaining communication with students would be more appreciated. So I hope that in the future, we're able to create more dialogue between students so that at least you can understand exactly where we're coming from and maybe hear some of our ideas too. Thank you.
Thanks. Before I call on Ivcn, I just want to say that the link to the statement from the Academic Senate was put in the chat if anyone's interested in seeing that. Ivcn?
I just had a question. I'm not sure if this has been asked or addressed yet, but for students that can't find housing and then have to withdraw from fall or drop out, will they be getting reimbursed for their tuition and class payments? Do we know about that?
I would assume so, but I don't know that.
I don't have any additional info, actually.
Has someone who withdrew from UCSB for several quarters due to COVID-related reasons? Currently, the only reasons that UCSB allows for refunding of tuition is if it's a medical, family, or family emergency. And sometimes, potentially, if you're working a certain number of hours, but that part is a little bit more unclear to me. So currently UCSB would not allow reimbursement of tuition for reasons like this.
Oh, that would be doubly bad. Yeah, hopefully they would do something about that if the reason is they can't provide the housing. Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to say on this? Philip, you still have your hand up, are you?
Yeah, I do have something to say. Gina asked a question earlier as to what the plan is for departments for what to do if a student tests positive and has to isolate. As somebody who's been working with a lot of department chairs and students, I can confidently say that there is no plan. Multiple students have asked this question to faculty and have been told that they should just get notes from their friends. So the answer is that there is no plan as of today. I also wanted to clarify something that you said about the Academic Senate being opposed to the hybrid option. I think there's an important clarification to be made here. The Academic Senate strongly recommends against a hybrid option. Further, they have required that at least 50% of instruction be in person. However, if there is a hybrid option in which at least 50% of the class is in person, hybrid options are still allowed. And that's the kind of organizing that I'm doing, which is arranging hybrid options that comply with this 50% rule.
Interesting. And Philip, I missed it during introductions. What do you represent, an organization or just yourself?
I'm representing myself. I am a member of Isla Vista Food Not Bombs and the UC Student Workers Union, but at this meeting, I am only representing myself.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Anything else on that subject? Catherine, hate to put you on the spot. Do you have anything that you'd want to talk about in AS and IV? Catherine, should I take that as a no? Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the Isla Vista Community Service District.
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna just do some updates. Our board president Spencer's not here, who usually does our update and comments on policy issues. So I can't get into any CSD positions on this issue, but I think our board members certainly can speak to their personal views, but our board hasn't taken up any position, so I can't make any comments myself. But I've seen this happen at least once before. It's not the first time. 2014, similar situations, pretty bad. So some updates from IVCSD. One is that we have, as we've mentioned many times, we have a I guess Catherine is back if you want to turn it over to her.
Oh yeah, Catherine, please.
Hi, sorry, I had to briefly step away. Is this for general CSD updates right now?
I was asking you if you had any general AS and IV updates.
I don't personally. I'm in the office of the president, which is why I had Gurleen. Luckily, she was free. She knows more about the survey and AS office of the president updates more than I do. So I think she covered a lot of it. I know that they're still in contact trying to figure out any hybrid options, and then thought it was important to communicate the results of the survey, but I think Gurleen covered a lot of it. Thank you.
Okay. And I guess before or after Jonathan, if you want to speak about the IVCSD, that would be welcome as well.
Oh, yeah, Catherine, if you want to go ahead or, okay. Oh, Catherine has to go. She just messaged me.
Okay. Hi, Catherine.
I'll take care of it. We're doing an Isla Vista community mobility plan. We've mentioned this many times. We got a grant from the state of California to do so. The request for proposals is currently out, and it's done on September 27th, so in a couple of weeks from now. So if, just putting it out there, if you know anybody who's involved in transit planning or works for a transit firm that would want to bid on this proposal, it's on our website under notices, and we're looking for a consultant to work with us on developing this Isla Vista community mobility plan. And Sydney, who you all have met, who's having issues today and is on the phone, but is here. She's going to be running like the community engagement to engage the community on transportation and parking issues. So that's something coming up this fall and into the future. And just wanted to put it out there. We are looking for transportation planners. So if there's 30 people here. If you know anybody, it's on our website. We also have worked on a brochure about the IVCSD, and we are looking for volunteers and to help us get it delivered to every household in Isla Vista. So we just have a brochure about resources that the IVCSD provides. So would love to, and some other like important phone numbers like public safety resources and health and all that. So if anybody wants to help us, we are looking for volunteers for that. We also passed our budget recently on August 24th, and it includes a lot of exciting improvements. One is a third safety station location. So we work with UCPD to have the 2 safety stations with CSOs on Friday and Saturdays from 8 to 2, a little Acorn and Window to the Sea Park. And now we're adding a third location, and we're testing out different options to see which one works best, like Creek Park or Sea Lookout Park, I think are the 2 we want to test this quarter. So that's an exciting expansion of the program. We're also adding more capacity to Isla Vista Beautiful. So people can still always report issues like graffiti or trash or streetlights that are out on our C-Click Fix app. And our IV Beautiful crew will take care of them. So we've created more positions and expanded their hours. So there's just more availability to take care of work now under the new budget. And we also hired Sydney, our community engagement director. We're hiring right now a new position to run the community center, and that's in our budget. And we hired someone to run our compost collective program. So we are moving ahead with a lot of new positions to work on the important issues like the community center and composting. So that's our update on some of the things that's going on at CSD.
Anybody have any questions for Jonathan? I have one question, Jonathan. And this might be a better question for IVRPD, but IVRPD, when the Adopt a Block program was up and running, they also kind of took care of notifying the county about, trash cans that were exposed to the street and constant problems with trash around. Is that anything that the Isla Vista Beautiful would now handle, or is that something that, I don't know if IVRPD is planning on starting back up the Adopt a Block program?
Yeah, we do some reports on garbage cans, but it's mainly if there's graffiti on them. It's never, actually it's a good idea that, maybe we could report that garbage cans are or being overfilled. I would like to know more about it. Like if are these like code violations or not? So that would impact like whether we can maybe do something about it. But it sounds like a interesting idea, like, make sure that they're keeping the covers closed and all that. But I don't know if it would necessarily be IV Beautiful or not, but I think so.
Okay, yeah.
Let me know more.
They are code violations. And then there's also another one that that used to get caught by, I think his name was Packy, maybe. Anyway, it was a county employee who used to go around and check on those kinds of things. I think they put in an ordinance where you're not supposed to be able to see the cans from the streets unless they're enclosed. And then there also another one is that you can't have living room furniture out on your front lawns. Is another one that's in place that's being ignored at this time. Maybe Gina might have an idea on this.
Brad does enforcement. There's definitely a ban on furniture in front yards. So we're, as you know, the county's complaint based. So you can send complaints with addresses to me, or you can report it on the P&D website and I can have Brad go out there and cite. On private property, trash cans have to be enclosed. So it's the same thing. If that's not happening, then we need to know about it. Brad can get out there sometimes and just kind of proactively, but it's rare. So it's got to be complaint based.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And Ronnie, to your question regarding Adopt a Block, we are looking into hopefully opening up again this fall, more on a reservation type system instead of like a drop-in as previously due to COVID. But hopefully we'll be getting some volunteers in and start making reservations and help out with the street cleanup. And also, yeah, I do know do some of that reporting if some of those cans overfilled and are kind of in the streets.
Okay, cool. Thanks. That's good to hear. All right. So I kind of diverted the conversation away from the IVCSD. Anyone have any questions for the IVCSD? All right, thank you. With that, we'll move on to law enforcement.
Hello, Gary here with UCPD. I guess I'll keep it short just for time. We're just basically taking the mentality of remaining flexible to see what this year brings. As we've been discussing this entire meeting, the kind of unprecedented issues that are happening and how we're going to respond to them. I think it's just going to be about trying to figure out what's going on and support the best way we can. That's one thing. I think Jonathan kind of covered the CSO security tents. The CSOs are hiring right now. If you know anyone that would be a good candidate, please refer them. We would love to get more CSOs. The number we're looking at is about 70 or so. And I don't know how many of those spots are filled right now, but we're still looking. It's $15 while they're in training. It's $15.50 after training and $16.50 if they make to the supervisor spot. And Viviana, thanks again for that assist and putting that out through your channels. Appreciate that. And then lastly, UCPD has been working with the UCSB Code of Conduct Office, Joaquin Becerra, to extend our restorative justice program with him. This talks a lot about personal accountability at UCSB for students that go in violation of conduct. We're going to set up a program to assist with just hearings and stuff like that. All the disciplinary recourses will be done through their office, but with us there to assist in providing information and stuff like that. So that's all we have. Thank you.
All right. Was there someone here from the county as well?
I have an announcement for Justin Schroeder. He just texted me. He is not able to make it to the meeting today because he has been deployed to help out with the Tahoe fires, and they're assisting them up there. He wanted to let everybody know the Isla Vista Restorative Justice Program is up and running again as well. I frequently teach that program with him, so we are doing that Isla Vista Restorative Justice Program up and running again with very small class sizes for COVID safety. Thank you.
Philip, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question for UCPD. So given the fact that there's going to be a very large increase in the amount of students living in their cars in Isla Vista, I was wondering what UCPD's policy is on people sleeping in their cars in Isla Vista.
Lieutenant Pross, do you want to answer this one?
The UCP doesn't have a policy on people sleeping in cars in Isla Vista because that's not our primary jurisdiction. So we would defer that to the county sheriff's department.
I can answer. I don't think we have any beef from the sheriff's, right? I can answer that. So it's not illegal for anyone to sleep in a vehicle on the public street. Isla Vista has an oversized vehicle on public street parking ban in place since 2014. And I'll go back to what Supervisor Hartman said. I mean, there's a safe parking program we always encourage people to go to. And in fact, our community resource deputy did a lot of outreach to houseless folks in IV this summer and successfully got them to so they could stay in their vehicle, but sleep in a safer environment with the safe parking program. The safe parking program, however, is not, if there is this influx of UCSB students, they're not ready to handle that, nor should they. And so, you know, if there's going to be students sleeping in their car, we will, and I encourage anybody on here who's concerned about that, like if that's the way it's going to be, UCSB needs to make it safe. And I will say, there have been bills in the state legislature. They haven't passed to mandate that community colleges and subsequently UC and Cal State create safe parking programs. They've not passed the legislature, and UC has taken staunch opposition to it because they maintain they don't want students sleeping in cars. They'd rather offer them housing and whatnot. Well, in the past, when they had a little bit of flexibility with housing, perhaps they can do that. But UCSB We've met with them about this, and they say, well, we have, you know, resources on campus to meet individual student needs so that no one has to sleep in their cars. Now, if they can't house those people and that this is what people have to do, they really need to step up and make it safe and have a safe permitted program on campus.
Thank you, Gina, for letting me know. You mentioned I guess 2 questions. One, could you maybe in the chat just put more information about the safe parking program, because this is news to me. And I guess I wanted to clarify why I brought up, why I asked about UCPD's policy for people sleeping in cars. I have multiple friends who currently sleep in their cars in Isla Vista, and all of them repeat being frequently woken up by police officers and being required to move. And this is a very frequent occurrence for them, sort of interrupting their sleep and being required to move. So that is why I'm bringing this up.
Anyone have a response?
I can try to respond to that. What Lieutenant Prowse is describing, there's a bit of a jurisdictional issue there in that the UCSB Police Department supports the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department in Isla Vista. We both have jurisdiction there. However, it is primarily a Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department's jurisdiction. So our role is to support their mission and what they're doing. This is obviously going to be predicated based upon the stuff that they're working out with, say, Joan Hartman's office and other entities and so forth and so on. If they're on campus, then it's different. We would take the primary jurisdiction in that environment. So that would probably be a question better answered or more accurately answered by the Sheriff's Department, in that when we work with them, we're most of the time going to follow kind of their mission at hand.
Okay. Philip, I see your hand is still up.
Yeah, sorry, I've got a lot of things to say. Yeah, thank you for that response. 2 things. One, you said that it's UCPD's responsibility to support the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department actions in Isla Vista. Can we get some sort of commitment or some kind of promise that UCPD will not be supporting Santa Barbara Sheriff's actions that harass students who sleep in their cars in Isla Vista?
If I understood that correctly, you're asking if I will tell you that the UCSB Police Department will not support them in harassing students that are sleeping. Is that what you're asking me?
Will not support Santa Barbara Sheriffs in bothering students who are sleeping in their cars in Isla Vista. Yes, please.
I understand. That's going to definitely be a question above my pay grade, as I am at the level of a kind of a patrol officer. Those decisions typically are made above everyone that's in this meeting, and it comes at the kind of conclusion of working with the community and hearing what the community wants and talking with other, entities to figure out what's best and safe for all the members in the community. So it'd be impossible for us to determine that currently.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Bradley, I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I understand the position of needing housing, and I understand the problems that come with people sleeping in their cars, and not knowing each individual case and what the merits of the case were. If someone were to call and have a concern about the health and welfare of someone sleeping in their car, that would be a case where we would have to wake somebody up. But like Gary said, it's not something that I believe is being done in some sort of malicious or arbitrary manner. I've not seen that type of activity on our activity logs. So I don't know which agency is doing that. So
And Philip, one more thing. I just put some information for you regarding the safe parking program. It looks like someone else had put some information as well. I'm going to put my email address on there as well if you have follow-up questions after we're done here.
Thank you.
All right, Philip, another question?
Yes. So I believe Gary mentioned that the Sheriff's Department would be working with Joanne Hartman about their policies in Isla Vista. So I guess this question is directed toward Joanne Hartman. I was wondering what initiatives you are taking to ensure that the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department would not be disturbing students who are sleeping in their cars in Isla Vista.
Well, let me start by saying the sheriff is independently elected by the entire county, each supervisor only by a district. The County Board of Supervisors oversees the budget of the sheriff's office, but we do not tell the sheriff how to do his work. That is totally within his prerogative. So exactly how he prioritizes tasks and manages his deputies is not something we tell him what to do. I've already, however, stated my position that if no one should be parked and sleeping on the street, it's not safe. That's why we have a safe parking program in Isla Vista. And if students have to live in cars, which to me is a travesty, then there should be safe parking created on campus where it can be guaranteed to be safe. Or there'll be patrols, there'll be sanitation facilities, toilets, showers, things like that. Just sleeping in your car, it's not good for students, it's not good for anybody, and I just don't support it.
Thank you for bringing up safe parking. Gina mentioned that if there's a significant surge of students who are living in their cars, the current safe parking program does not have enough capacity to accommodate for all those students. So given that information, it seems very likely that there are still, even if the safe parking program is taken advantage of, it's still very likely that many students will be forced to sleep in their cars in Isla Vista. So I guess I was hoping at the very least, maybe you could communicate and make these suggestions to the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office. I understand that you can't require them to do anything.
My suggestion is that people talk to the university and say, if these are UCSB students, the university has an obligation to provide for them on campus in a safe way where they have access to bathrooms and showers and somebody patrolling so they're safe.
I understand that. And speaking as somebody who is currently actively working with the university, the fact is that I am very skeptical that the university will be able to, is efficient enough to implement that within the next 2 weeks. And that is why I'm requesting that you, at the very least, suggest to the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department some policies regarding students sleeping in their cars in Isla Vista. I totally agree. It would be much better if the university were to implement some kind of safe parking program. But as somebody who has significant experience working with the university, it's very unlikely that it will be implemented within the next 2 weeks.
You're really trying to put me on the spot. We will certainly, this will certainly be an issue when I meet with the sheriff, which I do on a regular basis. And where I'm leaning, and I'll let Gina chime in, but that we have some information sheet that we put on the windshields about resources and support that's available to students. Again, if they are sleeping and living in their car on the streets of Isla Vista, that's not a tenable situation for the long run. Nobody's going to, cite them or take them to jail or anything like that. But the goal is to find a better situation.
I've been in touch with our community resource deputy, Justin Schroeder, and he's actually very sensitive to this and he's aware of this. And he actually contacted our office last week or the week before because he is anticipating this. And already thinking about like this would be unacceptable. What do we do and how we do that outreach? And I'll tell you, this summer they've done outreach to some oversized vehicles that have been in Isla Vista, and law enforcement, as far as the reports I had gotten, never went by themselves. In fact, we always scheduled our timing. We had folks from New Beginnings, they get contracted with the county to do this outreach, and they would go and do multiple touches and multiple outreach and have law enforcement in the background. And that was only because one particular IV, the person was hostile to other houseless. It was reported hostility. And so the county, I'm in regular contact with New Beginnings, and they're out there. They've been going out there and doing proactive outreach, and they will continue to. But if come fall in 2 weeks, law enforcement, who are on the ground, boots on the ground, and anybody else that notices lots of students sleeping in their cars, it will be the highest of highest priorities for us to advocate in the chancellor's office, if we have to, that they have to do better. We're having this conversation now, and I would hope that everybody who's concerned about this emails the chancellor today. Says, we see this coming. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. No one should accept this. You guys should be pissed that UCSB has such a lack of housing that we're actually having this conversation. It's the number 6 public university in the country. Do better.
Okay, to that, I'm in contact with the UC Students Union. I will draft an email and spread that around to UCSB students and members of the union to get their signatures and to have them email the chancellor as well.
Yeah, all good steps. And I agree with you, Gina. It's really unacceptable to force students to sleep in their cars on the public streets. All right, anything else on law enforcement in IB? Looks like we're actually past our time, so we might have to skip burning issues, which I think we probably already tackled them all already. And our next meeting will be October the 14th. Again, 11:45 to 1:15. If you have any topics for the future agenda, if you could email them to me, and my email address is on this current agenda. And you could also send, if you know someone who wants to be added to the email list, you could also send that information to that same email to rgould@ucsb.edu. Thank you very much for coming, everyone. A lot of good discussion here. And have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Have a good day.